company is
SpaceX
gearing
has
up for
really
the first
started
ever
putting its
orbital flight
Starship
test
flight
of Starship,
hardware through its
a
paces.
reusable
Elon
vehicle
Musk's
consisting of
company
a
is
huge
gearing up
booster
for the
called
first
Super
ever
Heavy
orbital
and an
flight
upper
test of
stage
Starship, a
spacecraft
reusable
known
vehicle
as Starship.
consisting of a huge
SpaceX
booster
aims to
called
conduct
Super
that
Heavy and
debut
an upper
orbital leap
stage
from
spacecraft known as
Starbase, its
Starship.
South Texas
SpaceX
facility,
aims to
between
conduct
September
that
1st
debut orbital
and March
leap from
1st,
Starbase's
using
South
the
Texas
Booster 7 Super
facility
Heavy
between
prototype and
September
the Ship
1st
24
and March
Starship
1st.
vehicle.
Using the
Both
Booster 7
B7
Super
and Ship
Heavy
24
prototype and the
breathed
Ship
fire
24 Starship
Tuesday in
vehicle,
static fire
both
tests,
B7
briefly
and
lighting
Ship
up their
24
Raptor engines while remaining
breathed
anchored to
fire
the ground.
Tuesday in
The
static
action
fire
ramped up
tests,
on
briefly
Thursday for
lighting up
Booster
their
7,
Raptor
which
engines,
conducted a
while
much
remaining
longer static
anchored to the
fire on
ground. The
Starbase's
action ramped
orbital
up
launch
on
mount.
Thursday
The
for
burn,
Booster
which occurred
7,
at 3:48 p.m.
which
EDT,
conducted
as
a much
SpaceX
longer
said via
static
Twitter,
fire on
lasted for up to
Starbase's
20
orbital
seconds,
launch
much
mount.
longer than the
Burn,
previous
which occurred
test.
at
The
3:48
long-duration
p.m.
burn
EDT,
aimed
as
to
SpaceX
test
said via
autogenous
Twitter, lasted for up
pressurization,
to 20
according to a
seconds,
tweet
much
posted
longer
by
than the
Musk
previous
shortly
test.
after
The
B7
long-duration
fired up.
burn aimed to
On
test
both Tuesday
autogenous
and Thursday, Booster
pressurization,
7
according to a
ignited just
tweet
one of
posted
its
by Musk
33
shortly
Raptor
after
engines,
B7
a
fired
different
up on
one
both
on each
Tuesday
day.
and Thursday.
Now that
Booster
Booster 7 has
ignited
passed this
just one of his
milestone, the
33
question
Raptor
is, will
engines, a
SpaceX
different one
gradually
on
increase
each
the
day.
number of
Now
engines
that
static
Booster
firing,
7
or
has
go
passed
full
this
in on a
milestone, the
33 engine
question
static fire?
is, will
Logically, it
SpaceX
would make sense
gradually
for
increase the
SpaceX to
number of
conduct
engines
multiple
static
static fires with a
firing,
gradual
or go full
increase
in
of
on
engines.
33
However,
engine static
this
fire
is
logically?
SpaceX, and one comment from
It would
Musk
make
could
sense for
change
SpaceX
everything.
to conduct
Regardless,
multiple
there is
static
another
fires
thing that
with a
needs careful
gradual increase of
consideration right
engines.
now,
However, this
and
is
that
SpaceX,
is the
and one
orbital
comment
launch
from
mount
Musk
after
could
the
change
second
everything.
static fire
Regardless,
of
there is another
B7.
thing
The
that
photo
needs careful
courtesy of Starship
consideration right
Gazer,
now,
and as you can
that is
see,
the
it's
orbital launch
dusty.
mount after
Not
the
only
second
that, it's
static
already
fire of
scorched
B7.
by
The
just
photo
one
courtesy of
engine.
Starship
I'm not sure
Gazer.
exactly
And as
what
you can
paint
see, it's
SpaceX
dusty.
is
Not only
using,
that,
but
it's
it's
already
obviously
scorched
not
by
working
just one
well.
engine.
And if this
I'm not
paint
sure
can't stand
exactly
one
what
engine
paint
without the
SpaceX
deluge
is
system,
using,
then
but
it doesn't stand a chance against
obviously
33,
not
especially
working
with how
well.
small
And
the
if this
deluge
paint
system
can't
seems
stand
from
one
prior
engine
testing.
without the deluge
Most likely,
system,
SpaceX
then
is
it
going to
doesn't
be
stand a
looking
chance
into some
against
better water
33,
deluge
especially
systems.
with how small
I'm
the
sure they
deluge
wouldn't want
system
to sit
seems
on the
from
stand for
prior
20
testing.
seconds
Most
like this
likely
single engine
SpaceX is
test.
going to be
Of
looking
course,
into
we
some better
also
water
can't
deluge
rule out the
systems.
possibility that the company will
I'm
design
sure
a
they
thermal
wouldn't want to
protection
sit on the
system for
stand for 20
inside the
seconds like
OLM,
this
even
single
though this
engine
could
test.
be a
Of course, we
nightmare for
also can't rule out
SpaceX's
the possibility
bakery.
that the
On the other
company will
hand,
design a
SpaceX's
thermal
Starship
protection
24
system for
will
inside
roar
the
to
OLM,
life with
even
its
though this
own
could be a
static fire.
nightmare
More
for
likely than
SpaceX's
not,
bakery.
one
On
of
the
those
other hand,
engines was a
SpaceX's
sea-level
Starship
optimized
24
Raptor
will roar
with
to
a
life
smaller
with
bell
its own
nozzle, and
static
the other
fire.
was a
More
vacuum
likely than not,
optimized
one of
Raptor
those
with a
engines
much
was a
larger
sea-level
nozzle.
optimized
However,
Raptor
in
with a
some ways,
smaller bell
SpaceX has
nozzle,
been
and the
a
other
bit
was a
less
vacuum
cautious with
optimized
this prototype. Ship
Raptor
24
with a
already
much
has
larger
all 6
nozzle.
Raptors
However,
installed,
in some
whereas
ways,
Ship 20
SpaceX
only
has been
had
a bit
4
less
of the
cautious
6
with
engines
this
installed
prototype Ship
during its
24.
first static fire tests.
Already has
SpaceX
all
also
6
took about
Raptors
3 weeks to
installed,
progress from
whereas
Ship
Ship
20's
20
first
only
static
had
fire
4 of the
test to
6
its
engines
first static
installed
fire
during
of
its
all
first
6
static
engines.
fire test.
Whereas it
SpaceX
appears that
also
Ship
took about
24
3
could
weeks to
potentially attempt
progress
its
from
first
Ship 20's
6-engine
first static
test
fire
just a few
test
days
its
to a
first
week
static
later.
fire of all
On the other
6
hand, Ship
engines,
24's
whereas
path
it
to its
appears
first
that
static
Ship
fire
24
was
could
substantially
potentially
longer than
attempt
Ship
its
20's.
first 6-engine
Ship 20
test
completed its
just a
first
few
static fire
days to a
tests
week later.
just
On the
25
other hand,
days
Ship
after its
24's
first proof
path
test,
to its
referring
first
to the
static
process of
fire was
verifying that the
substantially
prototype was
longer
in
than
good
Ship
working
20.
order
Ship
before
20
moving on
completed
to
it.
riskier testing with flammable
First
propellant
static fire
and
test,
intentional
just
ignitions.
25 days.
Ship 20 also completed its first
After
6-engine
its
static
first
fire
proof
46
test,
days
referring to
after
the
testing
process of
began.
verifying
Ship
that
24
the
meanwhile
prototype
took
was in good
75
working
days to
order
go from its
before
first
moving on
proof
to
test to
riskier
its
testing
first
with
static
flammable
fire,
propellant
almost
and
3 times
intentional
slower
ignition.
than Ship 20, a
20 also
prototype that was
completed
essentially
its
the
first
first of its
6-engine
kind.
static fire
It's possible that
46
Ship
days
24's
after
upgraded
testing
Raptor 2
began.
engines
Ship
are partially
24
or fully to
meanwhile
blame,
took 75
instead of jumping
days
straight
to
into
go from
hot
its first
Raptor
proof
testing like
test
Ship
to
20,
its first
which
static
began that that particular campaign with a partial ignition pre-burner test, SpaceX put Ship 24 through 7 spin prime tests before its first static fire. For Raptor, spin primes test the ignition step before pre-burner ignition, which is itself a step before main combustion chamber ignition, where the engine starts to produce meaningful thrust. Raptor startup procedures likely involve flowing high-pressure gaseous helium, nitrogen, or propellant, which is mainly methalox, through the engine to spin up its turbopumps, priming them for pre-burner and main combustion chamber ignition. On Raptor 1, the pre-burners would ignite once a high enough flow rate was achieved, producing hot gas that the main combustion chamber will mix and ignite one last time to start the engine. In a recent interview with Tim Dodd, the everyday astronaut, CEO Elon Musk revealed that SpaceX was able to remove torch igniters from Raptor 2's main combustion chamber. It's unclear
Burners
if that
would
means
ignite
that
once a
Raptor
high
2 now
enough flow
has
rate was
0
achieved,
MCC
producing hot
igniters, but
gas
a
that
major
the main
change in the
combustion
overall
chamber
ignition
would
process
mix
could
and
explain
ignite
why
one
the
last
start of
time
Ship
to start
24
the
and
engine.
B7 engine testing was
In a
so
recent
sluggish.
interview with
It
Tim
also
Dodd,
could
the
explain the
everyday
unintended
astronaut CEO
explosion
Elon Musk
B7 caused
revealed
when
that
SpaceX
SpaceX was
attempted to
able to
spin
remove
prime all
torch
33
igniters
of
from
its Raptor
Raptor
2
2's main
engines at once.
combustion chamber.
Regardless,
It's unclear if
SpaceX
that
has
means
finally
that Raptor
crossed
2
that
now has
particular
0
Rubicon,
MCC igniters,
and with
but a
any
major
luck,
change in the
Raptor 2
overall
testing will
ignition
begin to
process
speed
could
up
explain why
on
the start
both
of Ship
Starship 24
and
and
B7
Super
engine
Heavy
testing
B7.
was so
SpaceX has
sluggish.
test
It
windows
also could
scheduled on
explain the
August 15th
unintended
and the
explosion
16th.
B7 caused
Presumably,
when SpaceX
SpaceX will
attempted to
fire
spin
up
prime
more
all
and more of the
33
vehicle's
its
engines
Raptor 2
simultaneously
engines
as
at
the test
once.
campaign proceeds.
Regardless,
Despite that, the
SpaceX has
first
finally
orbital
crossed
test flight
that
of
particular
SpaceX's Starship
Rubicon,
vehicle
and with
won't
any
get off the
luck,
ground
Raptor
in
2
August.
testing will begin to
SpaceX
speed
is
up on
targeting
both
a
Starship
6-month
24
window that
and
opens
Super
on
Heavy
September
B7.
1st for the highly anticipated mission,
SpaceX has
according
test
to a
windows
radio
scheduled
spectrum
on
license
August
application
15th
that
and
the
the
company
16th.
filed with the
Presumably,
U.S. Federal
SpaceX will
Communications
fire up
Commission.
more and more
That
of the
license was
vehicle's
granted
engines
on Wednesday, according
simultaneously
to the
as the
Twitter
test campaign
account FCC
proceeds,
Space
despite that the
Licenses,
first
which
orbital
keeps tabs
test
on
flight
such
of
things.
SpaceX's
But this
Starship
approval
vehicle
is not
won't
the
get
final
off the ground
regulatory
in
hurdle
August.
that Starship
SpaceX
must clear
is
on the way
targeting
to
a
the launch
6-month
pad.
window that
Reminder,
opens on
this is not the
September
same as a
1st for the
launch
highly
license.
anticipated
It's a
mission.
specific
According
radio
to a
license for the
radio
test
spectrum
vehicle
license
and does not
application
indicate
that
a
the
change
company
in
filed
status.
with the
Please
U.S.
do
Federal
not make a YouTube
Communications
video or write a 20,000
Commission.
word
That
article
license
about
was
this.
granted on
FCC
Wednesday.
Space Licenses, which is not
According
a
to the
U.S.
Twitter
government
account
account,
FCC
wrote
Space
in another
Licenses,
Wednesday
which
tweet.
keeps tabs on
SpaceX
such
apparently
things,
still
but
hasn't
this
received a
approval
launch
is not the
license for the
final
Starship orbital
regulatory
test
hurdle
flight,
that
which
Starship
will
must
lift off
clear
from
on
the
the way to
company's
the
Starbase
launch pad.
facility in
Reminder,
South
this
Texas.
is not the same
Launch
as a launch
licenses
license.
are the
It's a
purview of the
specific
U.S.
radio
Federal
license
Aviation
for the test
Administration,
vehicle
which
and does
recently
not
wrapped up
indicate
a
a
lengthy
change in
environmental
status.
assessment
Please
of
do not
Starship
make a
activities
YouTube
at the
video.
site.
We'll write a
B7 lit just
20,000
one
word
of its
article
33
about this
engines on
FCC
Tuesday,
Space
and Ship
Licenses,
24 fired
which
up
is not
2
as
of its
government
6
account
Raptors.
wrote in another
So a lot of
Wednesday.
work remains before SpaceX
Tweet
clears the
SpaceX
duo for an
apparently
orbital
still
flight,
hasn't received a
meaning
launch
it was
license
never
for the
likely that the
Starship
mission
orbital
would lift
test
off in
flight,
August,
which will
even if
lift
all
off
the
from the
paperwork were
company's
already
Starbase
in order.
facility in
However,
South
there
Texas.
is a
Launch
high-profile
licenses are
launch
the purview
scheduled
of
for
the
this
U.
month. NASA is currently targeting
Federal
August
Aviation
29th for the liftoff
Administration,
of
which
Artemis
recently
1,
wrapped
the
up a
first
lengthy
mission in its
environmental
Artemis
assessment
program
of
of
Starship
moon
activities
exploration.
at the site.
And with
B7
that, my
lit
time
just
is
one
up,
of its
and I would like to
33
take this
engines
time to
on
thank you
Tuesday,
for
and
watching.
Trip
If you
24
enjoy what
fired
my
up
team
2
and I
of
are
its
doing,
6
you can
Raptors,
become
so a
a
lot of
patron
work
through our
remains
Patreon
before
link in the
SpaceX
description
clears the
below.
duo for an
Otherwise,
orbital
as
flight, meaning
always,
it was
this is
never
Kevin.
likely that the mission would lift off in August. Even if all the paperwork were already in order, however, there is a high-profile launch scheduled for this month. NASA is currently targeting August 29th for the liftoff of Artemis 1, the first mission in its Artemis program of moon exploration. And with that, my time is up, and I would like to take this time to thank you for watching.